What's going on, bro? So today I want to talk to you about how my life improved significantly when I stopped making excuses. So I'll tell you a quick story. So when I was in elementary school, I would always have to go to this extended day little program thing after school because at that time both of my parents were working. Both of my parents, they couldn't pick me up after school. So they put me in this little program and it was quite fun, I'm not going to lie. Because at this program, like, you got to hang out with your friends, you got to eat food, you got to watch movies, you get to just like, just like have fun for a couple hours until, your parents are available to pick you up. So one day, I walk in, I sit down at the table with all my friends at this little, like, in the cafe. That's where it would usually be held, just in the cafeteria. And it was just me, a group of my friends, just talking about whatever, about video games, about girls, about like school and whatnot, right? Like we were like 10 years old, by the way. We were still talking about this stuff. At some point, cause like all 10-year-olds, they're kind of stupid, aren't they? I'm not gonna lie to you. Like when I was 10 years old, at least, I was retarded as fuck. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I think most of us were when we were that young. And I don't know why, but at some point, I just decided to like make like an like just a rude comment about one of the guys at our table. I didn't say it to his face. I said it to like my friend who was sitting next to me. I just made like an offhand like rude comment. And after I made that comment, he heard it, like the other guy that he was like sitting across the table. He heard it and he started getting angry. He started getting really, really mad. He was like, "All right, who said that comment? Who said that comment? I'm gonna fight you, bro. Like, come on, like we're 10 years old, right?" And he thought it was either me or my friend, or like in that group, because he heard it from, because like imagine, right, it was like me and my friend like sitting on one side of the table, and he was like doing something, like he was like eating food, I think, like right across us, like on the other side of the table. And so we started getting mad. He was like, "All right, who said this? Who said this?" I did something which was so autistic, like so retarded, that when I look back at it now, I was like fuck me, why did I do this? I literally said, no, 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 it wasn't me. I didn't say that. He said it. Like it was him. He did it. Now again, like I was 10 years old, right? So I was like really, really like stupid. But I just blame shifted. I didn't take responsibility for what I did. I didn't just say like, "Oh yeah, I made that comment. My bad. Sorry about that. It won't happen again." I could have done that if I was a little bit more just like mature. Again, I was like 10 years old, right? But again, there's no excuse. No excuses. I didn't take responsibility, and so he got the heat for it. And for some reason, like he didn't really fight back either. Like my friend was like he was an absolute Chad in that sense. Like at that time, he was like that 10-year old who was just like was an absolute Chad, and he was just like, yeah, all right, fine. So he kind of just like took it. He took the blame for me. He didn't make any excuses. And so like my other friend who was sitting across the table, like they started yelling at each other and they started doing all this stuff. I didn't take responsibility for it, and so he got the heat. He got the consequences. He didn't do anything, by the way. Like my friend, like now when I look back at it, like that was a nice guy. Like he was 10 years old, even then. But he was still really like he was like a wholesome guy. You know what I mean? And I always used to be like that 10-year-old asshole. I'm not gonna lie to you. I always used to be like an asshole to people for some reason. If I just taken responsibility for it, I would have gotten the heat and he wouldn't have, which would have probably been way better. Not probably, it would have been better because he didn't do anything. A couple weeks later, I think, some weird situation happened again with like me and my like that little friend group, right? And again, I made like a weird offhand comment about his grandma or something like that. Again, I was like 10 years old. I was like really, really stupid, right? And this time, I I didn't blame shift at all. This time I actually had like some kind of like I finally like gained IQ points a little bit. And I was like, you know what? Like I could blame shift this on somebody else. I could just like not take responsibility for it. I can make excuses. But I didn't. I didn't. I made a comment that like really, really hurt like one of my friends. Like he started crying and stuff. I could have, again, blame shifted that to somebody else. Like, oh no, no, I didn't say this. Like, oh no, it's just a joke, bro. Come on. You know those friends who say that where like they make like they basically just like bully you, and you're over here coping, be like, oh no, he's just joking. Like, come on, that's fine. I could have done that, but I didn't. He was sitting over there crying in the corner, and I just walked up to him and said, I'm sorry. I apologized for it, and I gave him a hug afterwards, and like boom, like our friendship like still. I never saw the guy again. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like after elementary school, I don't know where he is, but I know for a fact that after that moment, our friendship improved. What can we learn from this? Well, just stop making excuses. Start taking responsibility. When I was sitting at that table in the cafeteria and I didn't take responsibility, more like shit just hit the fan basically. I never took responsibility, and so somebody else had to. Not somebody else had to. Like I just placed that onto somebody else, like some innocent guy, right? Who did literally nothing, and he took the blame for it. He took the blame for it. He got all the consequences. And I just kind of like sat there. Whereas the times when I did take responsibility, and I didn't make excuses at all. It was fine. Like the problem was solved like after like a couple minutes instead of like being like another huge fight or argument. Now that's just one instance, right? That's just one instance of life getting better when I stopped making excuses in terms of like, taking responsibility for things like that. But I think it just applies to everything. If you cut corners, if you make excuses in school, for example, your grades are going to be shit, aren't they? If you cut corners in your fitness, for example, like you're pushing, like imagine this, right? Like you're on your third set, you could get like, you're aiming for 10 reps, for example. You're on your third set, and you could get five more. Your goal was 10. You're on the fifth rep, and it starts like hurting, right? It starts like really, really hurting. Like the pain, like the burning feeling, like starts seeping in, right? And you're over here being like, oh no, but I don't need to do those last five reps. It's fine, and then you just put it down. How much more progress do you think you would make if you just stop making excuses and be like, yep, these reps are really, really painful and they hurt a lot, but I'm going to do them anyway? How much more progress do you think you would make if you just stop making excuses? Because I'm telling you right now, there's a version of you out there. Like, this universe is pretty much infinite, isn't it? I know what I just said might sound really, really weird. This universe is pretty much infinite. And so, somewhere out there, really, really far away, there's probably another version of you, another copy of you, who had the same exact circumstances as you, but didn't make excuses. How much more further along is he than you are? How much more progress has he made than you? Those days when you wake up and you know you should wake up, you set your alarm for like 6 a.m., you know you have to wake up and go lift. I remember I did this as well. Like there was times when after school I would have absolutely no time to go and like work out. Absolutely no time. I'd be playing sports, I'd be doing this thing and this thing. Like for a couple months, I woke up at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. to just go and lift. In my home gym, I didn't really have access to a gym. I could have made so many excuses. I could have been like, oh no, but I don't have enough time. I don't have enough, like I can't do this and this and this. I made no excuses. When that alarm clock went off at 5:30 a.m., I woke up. Now I could have been like, oh no, but I'm sleep deprived and all this stuff, and like I got work to do and stuff. No excuses. Went down straight away. Got to training immediately. And during that time, actually, I gained some weight. I gained some strength. Imagine the version of me who, for example, didn't do that. Imagine the version of me who never woke up at 5:30 a.m. and got to training straight away. The version of me who never did that. The version of me who was like, oh no, but I can't do it today because of this and this and this. When he actually could have. When there was another version of him out there who made no excuses, who did the exact same thing. He was in the exact same circumstances, but he still found a way, didn't he? And he still made some good progress. He made way more progress than the version of him who made excuses. I'm talking about me, right? There's a version of you out there, for example, who doesn't cut corners, who doesn't make excuses. All the excuses that you have in your mind right now, they're BS. What are they? What are some common excuses that I had? I think there's three big ones. One is I don't have enough time. Two is I can't do it because I care about what other people think. And three is I can't do it because of some other external circumstance, like, I don't have enough equipment or like whatever, right? These are all BS. I don't have enough time. Common excuse, right? That at least I made, at least. I could have made that excuse when, again, I told you that story about like me getting up at 5:30 a.m. every single day for like a couple months to wake up and go train. I could have made the excuse, oh, I don't have enough time to do it. I did, though. I had a lot of time. Plenty of time. I just had to take action on it and not make excuses again. You definitely have enough time for the things that you want to do. You definitely have enough time for the things that you should be doing. Go and look on your phone right now. What is your screen time? What is it? 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours? For me, it was like 12, 13 hours. I had like imagine this, right? There's people who say, this was me too, by the way. I said to myself, oh, I don't have enough time to work out. I don't have enough time to do this. I don't have enough time to do my homework. Look at your phone. This is me speaking to my younger self. Look at your phone. Look at your phone screen time. You have plenty of time. Plenty of time. Bro, you have literally like 9, 10, 11 hours of time to do anything. But you spend it just staring at a rectangle instead. Why? The excuse of, oh, I don't have enough time is just BS. You have 12 hours to do whatever you want, but instead you spend it, again, staring at that rectangle. Because yes, it is because of that damn phone. You know when your parents would say to you, when you used to like make a big mistake, or when you used to like, do bad in school, they would say like, oh, it's because of that damn phone, bro. They were right. I don't have enough time is such a bullshit excuse because you spend your time staring at your phone. I spent so many hours just staring at my phone. I spent so many hours just like wasting away on my Xbox, doing jack shit. We spend so many hours staring at our phones. We spend so many hours on apps like this, on YouTube. You spend copious amounts of time on the internet, copious amounts of time on Instagram and YouTube and Snapchat for like 11, 12, 13 hours. That was me, right? 13 hours was my screen time, like daily. Daily screen time for me used to be like 13 hours. And here I was, arrogant little motherfucker saying like, oh no, but I don't have enough time to do it, bro. You 100% have enough time. You do. And also, if it's important to you, you will make time for it. If it's important to you, you will definitely make time for it. Lifting and gaining muscle and getting stronger was important enough for me that I made time for it. I found time. Like, okay, I can't lift it after school because I got sports. I come home at like 8 p.m. and stuff. I got homework and all these other things. Okay, fine. No excuses. I'll just wake up earlier and lift. And I still made progress that way. Why? Because it was important enough to me that I found time for it. Now that's with good habits. That applies with good habits if it's important enough to you to find time for it. But that also applied with video games for me. I'll tell you another story. During the COVID lockdown, when my parents were home and they were working from home, it would always be much, much harder to play games because I used to be at home, my mother used to be at home, my father used to be at home, everybody in the house. Everybody was in the house and they all hated the fact that I used to play games. They all like absolutely despised it, and rightfully so. Because imagine like you're a parent and your son just does jack shit but play games for like 12 hours, 13 hours, right? You're probably going to be mad too. And so at one point it got so bad that they used to like, I can remember this one distinctive memory where it got so bad that my dad literally, he took my controller away from my hand and he just like threw it against the wall. No questions, no remarks, no nothing. Like I was playing games and I was like, I think I was like yelling at my friend or something like that. And my dad was trying to do work upstairs. And he told me multiple times before, like, can you quieten it down? Like, I'm in a meeting, I'm trying to do work and stuff. I didn't listen because, again, I was retarded as fuck. Eventually, he had enough of me. He grabbed the controller, like, straight out of my hands with force, slammed it against the wall, and, like, just, like, broke apart into, like, a bunch of pieces just scattered everywhere. Luckily, I had, like, two controllers at that point, but at that point, like, it got so bad, he just took it away. Took away my Xbox, took away everything, right? And I was mad, too. Again, like imagine this, like you're a little like 13, 14 year old little video game addict, and your parents took away from you the one thing that you love most to do, really the only thing that you do, right? Of course you're going to be mad. Of course you are. So they hid it from me, but I was good. I was good at finding things. I was really good at finding things. And so, maybe my parents used to go away for a little bit just for like a walk or something like that. Maybe to like get groceries and whatnot. There was one day when they left, and I swear I ransacked the house, ransacked the whole thing. I was like searching everywhere for it, underneath beds, in the dishwasher. I don't know why, but like I was like autistic enough to think like, oh yeah, maybe they hid it in the dishwasher, bro. Searching just everywhere for it, opening cabinets, checking boxes, checking the basement too. Eventually, I found it. They just like threw it in a closet, and I can remember this one memory. Every single day, I would want to play video games. I didn't have access to like my own monitor. I don't even think I had my own room at that point, like my own like official room. Yeah, I had like a bed to sleep in, but they never really like gave me like an actual room. So yeah, I had like a bed to sleep in that I would like sleep alone and fine. But I didn't have an actual room to like play, just like with unlimited time. Because I would always used to I would always play games on our like main TV that everybody uses. And of course, like there was no like really good place to hide it. You know what I mean? Because it's an open living room. It's like massive, and all the consoles that were all like stacked on top of each other, like the DVD player and like the actual like router, like the Wi-Fi router and all that stuff. They were all stacked on top of each other and very visible. So I came up with a intellectual, highly intelligent plan, right? What I would do is I would place the Xbox in like kind of like a remote corner. I would make sure like the wire, like the actual like wire, I would like plug it in. Like the actual like power cable was long enough so I could like feed it like behind all the consoles and all like the stuff that was there to like actually plug it into the TV. And I remember I would always like take a piece of cloth or like take a blanket or like a jacket or something like that, and I would always throw it over the console. That's what I would do to hide it. That was my highly intelligent plan. I would just throw something over it to hide it. And for the controller, usually like I would like hide the controller under there as well. But sometimes because I used to play games late at night at that point, because my parents they would always used to be awake and out and about and doing stuff like throughout the day, so I wouldn't do it because then I would get beat right by my father. So I'd always used to play it really late at night, 11 p.m., 12 a.m., 1 a.m., because that's the time that they were asleep, right? I wouldn't turn on the volume at all. Never once would I turn on the volume because, again, it would just wake them up. And, I'd get beat by my dad and stuff, right? So I play games with no volume, with a kind of like semi-broken controller, because the controller that my dad broke, that was the best controller that I had. It was kind of sad. I was like, damn it, like now I got to use this kind of like shitty controller, and it would be loud as fuck. I remember like I would have to like I used to like neurotically overthink about all of these things, right? So I remember like the controller that I would use, like when you clicked the buttons, it would make like a gigantic noise for some reason. Like the noise would be so loud. And I remember I would have to used to like I would always used to like cough or be like or like sneeze or something like that just to cover up the sound of me just like, pressing the buttons. Which I'm pretty sure would have been just louder than pressing the buttons anyway. I did that for a couple of months. And I remember actually one time I was playing games again late at night, per usual, right? Usual like daily routine for me. And my dad woke in the middle of the night for something, right? Like maybe he couldn't sleep, maybe he needed some water or something like that. And I was like, I heard his footsteps like slowly walking down the stairs. You can actually remember this, right? If you're brown like me, or if you're Asian, you can tell like which parent like is stepping down the stairs just based on the sound of their footprints. Like you can tell, especially with my dad too, because he would always wear these like really really loud like moccasins. You know what I mean? It's like those slippers that you wear, like around the house. So he would wear those. He would come down, and it would always be super super loud. So I'd always know when he would always be coming down, right? So I'm sitting there playing video games per usual, and I hear just a clank, clank, clank of like him just walking down the stairs. So I'm there like, oh shit, I'm gonna get beat, bro, if I don't like actually like hide this stuff. So I move swiftly. I move with speed, bro. Like immediately, I turn it off. And like, if you ever had like an Xbox One, like when like you turn off the Xbox, it always makes like it doesn't like turn off immediately. Like there's still like some like light particles there, right? Like you know what I mean? It's like the Xbox logo. It like lights up like 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 kind of like fluorescent blue or some like some random color. Like it like lights up, right? Every time you turn it on. And when you turn it off, like it doesn't like just like go black immediately. It goes like in and out, right? Like it's hard to explain, but you get what I mean. So he's coming down the stairs. I'm moving like fast at this point, like really, really, really fast. So I turn it off, put the blanket over it, and I was kind of like overthinking at that point, like a lot, because again, I used to be terrified of my father at that point. There was a lot of abuse, a lot of trauma, a lot of things happening in the household. So I was terrified of my father. And usually I would place the controller like under that blanket just to like hide it. That's usually what I would do. But this time it was like he was already down the stairs at that point. He was like really, really close. And so I was looking around like, okay, where do I hide the controller and stuff? So there was like where I was sitting on the couch, I looked like right next to me. And there was like a little hat. Like let me tell you the story about that hat, right? So that hat, I would always hide the Xbox controller just in that hat. I still have that hat to this day. And it fit like perfectly inside it too. Like perfectly inside that hat. Like just like you couldn't even like know it was there. Like you wouldn't even notice. Because, like these things would happen like every now and then, yeah. like every now and then, meaning like, you know, my dad would used to like come down to like, you know, drink water or go to the bathroom or whatever. And so I would just hide it in the hat. And actually worked for a little bit. You know, like, because then at that point, like, you know, my dad came down, like, I turned everything off at this point. The lights are still on. And so my dad's like, oh, yeah, like, you know, like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? Why are you awake? And you know, I'm kind of just like, oh, yeah, I can't sleep and stuff. And my dad's like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, fine. So then he goes to, like, to the kitchen to do whatever he does and goes back up. There have been a couple close calls, or there was at least a couple close calls. And then one day I got a little bit too ambitious. One day I was like, you know what? My parents are upstairs. My mom's like doing stuff. My mom never really cared that much if I played games. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should like try and play some in the middle of the day. Because you remember, like, usually I would play them like very, very late at night. So I was like, you know what? Let me try and play them in the middle of the day at this time. I think it was like, you know, like in the afternoon at some point. And so I was playing them again, same thing with no volume, like, you know, like coughing to try and like cover up the little very loud button clicks. And at this point, like, that day, what happened was I wasn't exactly really prepared for what was about to happen. I'm sitting there playing video games per usual, right? In the middle of the day this time. And then I hear my dad's footsteps come like swiftly down the stairs. At this point, I'm just like, okay, I'm fucked, kind of. I have like the little like cover, like the little like piece of cloth or like towel or blanket or whatever. I have that covering the actual console of the Xbox, but I don't have like I couldn't move fast enough to put the controller there. So as soon as I heard his footsteps, I turned off the TV immediately. The Xbox was fine. He couldn't see that. Where do I put the controller? All right, like the hat's right next to me. I usually keep it next to me just in case these things happen. So I put it in there. Boom. Then he comes down, you know, he says hi to my mom. He says, like, you know, how's it going? He says, like, you know, like, oh, have you made food and stuff? My mom was like, yeah, yeah, here you go. Here's some food and stuff. He comes there. I'm just on my phone at this point. I'm just pretending to be like, yeah, I'm just like, you know, just chilling on my phone in the living room. He comes in, sits down right next to me, turns on the TV. This is like my worst nightmare, right? He sits down, turns on the TV, and then he sees that I'm playing. He never once allowed me to play after like that incident where he smashed my controller against the wall, right? He saw me playing after like a couple months. You want to know what happened after? After he saw me, like he turned on the TV and he saw like the video game pause loading screen, right? Whatever it was. You want to know what he did? Nothing. He did literally nothing. He was just like, oh, okay. And then he changed the channel a little bit. He was like, oh, okay, like, you know, it's on a different channel, so he just changed it. And I was sitting there, and I left afterwards, like, you know, to like go to the bathroom. And that was like, I sat there and I was like, holy fuck, I survived. Like, that was a huge win for me, right? Why am I telling you this story? Why have I just yapped for like the past, like, I don't know how long it was, like maybe like 10 minutes or something like that? Why have I told you this story when it comes to this video? Like I said before, you will make time for the things that are important for you. even when I was a video gamer, even when I was an addict, even when I was depressed and traumatized and all of this stuff, I still knew this. I still kind of knew this because I made time for the thing that was most important to me at that point, which was video games. I could have made excuses, right? I could have been like, oh no, oh well, like who cares? Like, I'll just do something else. But I didn't. Now when this comes to like a bad habit, like obviously, like, you don't want to do this. But even when like I was still like a loser, I still made like no excuses when it comes to the things that mattered to me most, right? When it comes to the things that mattered to me. And I found time for it. I found time to play games. I found time to like search for the gaming console and the controller. I made no excuses. Now I took that same concept and I applied it to real life. I applied it to the things that are actually good for me. And I think I've made some pretty decent progress. My life improved significantly when I stopped making excuses. Right? Sorry for the big rant, dude. The story. I think it was a pretty good story. I'm not gonna lie to you. That story's been in my memory for a long time now. So, first excuse we've already covered. Oh, I don't have time to do this. Yes, you do. We've already covered that. Second one, I can't do something because I'm afraid about what other people will think. So if you know Alex Hormozi, if you don't know him, is like a really successful entrepreneur and stuff. He makes some pretty high quality videos, I'm not gonna lie. Like really high quality like business advice videos. And he said something that kind of just like clicked in my mind when I was watching a podcast with him and Chris Williamson. He said something and I was like, oh fuck, he's right. And that just instantly just like broke the belief that like, oh no, but like other people will think about me and all this stuff. You want to know what he said? I think I've said it in a bunch of other videos before. He said that we're all going to die one day. And when we die, nobody's going to care about us. When we die, everybody's going to forget about us in 3 generations. In 3 generations, everybody that we know at least will be dead. Including the people whose opinions stopped you from doing what you wanted to do for all this time. He also said something which was really powerful. He said, I want you to imagine like some friend that you know, somebody that you know. And imagine that they achieve every goal and dream that they have in 2 years. Like, and they they grow old and die, right? Like this person has achieved everything they could have ever wanted in life. Then they grow old and die. A couple of years after that, right? A few years after they grow old and die, how much will you care? He said, about as much as everybody else if you accomplish your goals and dreams. Do it for you. I know that might sound like cringy or like weird or whatever. It's true. I think it's true at least. Because nobody cares about you. I know that might seem like harsh and like hopeless or whatever. But that's in a good way that nobody cares about you. What does that mean? Well, I kind of just like thought back to an old idea that I had, which is I want you to think about all of the embarrassing moments that you've had. You remember those times when you were in school and you used to do something really embarrassing and everybody laughs at you, at least you think, right? Like, maybe you stutter or like, you say something really cringe or whatever. You can remember most of those moments, right? Now, I want you to try and remember the embarrassing moments of things that other people did. Can you remember them? Probably not, right? Chances are you can't. I know I can't. I can remember maybe one, if that. What can we learn from that? What can we learn from that practice? Nobody cares about you. Nobody does. Like I remember I had this weird mindset where I was like, oh yeah, everybody cares about me. Everybody's looking at me. Everybody's doing this. Everybody's doing that. And then I just thought to myself, like, okay, wait. We're not special, right? Nobody, like, we think we're special, at least. I'll say it like that. We think we're all special. We've been told that we're special. We're not. We're not special. I'm not special. You're not special. Nobody is. Why? Because we've all consumed the same media. We've all been conditioned the same way. We've all been taught the same things. We all wear the same clothes. We all say kind of the same things, right? Still, I think every person's unique in their own right. Largely, we are very similar. So if I have the belief right now that everybody's thinking about me, everybody's looking at me, doesn't everybody else? And I was like, yeah, that's true. The average person, like, even me too, right? I still had that belief that everybody was thinking about me. Everybody was, like, paying attention to what I did. But the thing is that everybody else has that same worldview, has that same belief that everybody's thinking about them. So in reality, nobody's thinking about anybody but themselves, because people are selfish, right? Like we're all selfish. So nobody cares about you. And again, after you die, who is going to care? After a certain amount of time, who's going to care? Like let me ask you a question. What is the number one regret of dying old people? You want to know what the number one regret of dying old people is? I wish I had the courage to live a life that was true to myself and not to other people. The number one regret of dying old people is that they wish they had lived a life that was true to them, not to other people. That's the number one regret of people who are about to die. Are you really going to live your life based on what other people say about you? Why? Why would you do that? When you're on your deathbed and you're looking back on your life, I know, we're quite young right now, but we're all going to die eventually. And so when you're on your deathbed, when you're about to die, and you look back on your life, what are you going to say about it? Are you going to say, I'm proud of what I did. I lived a life that was true to me? Or are you going to be one of those dudes who's going to be like, oh, I could have done this thing that I wanted to do, but I didn't do it because I was afraid about what Aiden would think about me. What? Do you realize how retarded that sounds? That's what we all think. Truly, that's what we all think. We all think, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this thing because Paul will think I'm weird for it. do I really care about what Paul thinks? Like, does Paul have more control over my life than me? No, right? If you base your life on the opinions of other people, effectively what you're saying is, okay, they control me. They control my actions. How weak does that appear? Why? Why would you live your life based on the opinions of other people? The opinions of other people who number one, don't care about you. Most of the people that pop it up into your head, they don't give a shit about you, okay? They're not your friends. They're not your family. They don't care about you. And number two, they're not even thinking about you. They're not even thinking about you. They might see the YouTube video that you posted. They might see like you did this certain thing, and they might be like, "Oh, hey guys, look." Okay, so like so, like what? They're gonna forget about it in like 2 minutes and go back to like living their meaningless life. Like, why do you care? Why should you care? They're not part of your family. They're not your close friends. Why should you care? So that's the second excuse out of the way. Third excuse is I can't do something because of some external circumstance, right? Most of the time, I think that's BS. Most of the time. Again, I'll go back to that story when I used to wake up at 5:30 a.m. to lift, to train every single morning. I could have made the excuse I won't be able to gain weight, I won't be able to gain strength or muscle because I don't have access to equipment, for example. And it's true. I didn't have access to equipment. Like, I guess the only like real equipment that I had was a pull-up bar, gym rings, and some dumbbells, and maybe a bench, and that's it. I could have sat there and be like, "Oh no, I'm not going to work out because I'm not going to be able to make progress because of this and this and this." But I didn't make any excuses. External circumstances didn't mean anything. I was like, "All right, fine. I don't have enough equipment. All right, fine. Let me do calisthenics then. Weighted calisthenics. Maybe I'll get a weight belt that's like like cheap as fuck. Maybe I'll like hook some things onto that and do just like weighted body weight things." And I did. I did that for months. For months and months and months. I just did that. I woke up and I just did that. And I still made progress. I'll tell you another story, in fact. I remember, I think it was last summer, I went to India or 2 summers ago, I went to India for a month and a half. I stayed in India for a month and a half because, I wanted to visit family and stuff like that. Like my grandparents are getting quite old now. So my mom was like, yeah, we're going to stay in India for a month and a half. I didn't really like that idea. But I was like, all right, fine. So I packed my gym rings and I packed my resistance bands and stuff like that I could take to train there. And I remember actually when I was going through TSA in India, they confiscated my bag for some reason. I was like, why? I don't have any sharp objects in there. I didn't have any drugs or like guns or anything like that. But they confiscated it. And they said, like, you can't have these bands in here, like those resistance bands that I had. He said, you can't have them in here. Like, they're ropes and stuff like that. And, my mom tried to explain to them. I tried to explain to them, like, no, 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 no. Like, they're not ropes. They're workout bands. You can work out with them. And they were still like, no, you still can't have these. So they took them away. I still got to keep the gym rings and stuff like that. But I was like, all right, fine, whatever. It is what it is. Like I was gonna use those resistance bands a lot. I was gonna like hook them up like onto like little ledges and like like wedge them like under like the couch and whatnot like to like work out basically. Like that was a big part of like my routine actually, just resistance bands because I couldn't during COVID when I first started working out with my brother. We didn't really have access to like dumbbells or anything like that. Of course, I like we bought them later, but back then it was just resistance bands. It was just body weight. It was just like simple things, and so that was a big part of my workout routine just in general. And those got taken away from me. Those were some of like my favorite things, and they just got taken away. I could have sat there and be like, oh no, boo hoo, like like whoa, whatever, bro. Like oh, I don't want to work out anymore, bro. I could have done that, but instead I was like, no, no excuses. Bands got taken away. All right, fine. I used the gym rings instead, and I didn't really have access to a gym, like an actual like gym where I stayed at my aunt's place in India, and I needed to find somewhere to hook the gym rings. So you know what I did? Like I went up to like the balcony of the apartment, like where like people go to like like water their plants or whatnot. There was like a bunch of plants on this like big like rooftop balcony, and there was a set of stairs like right next to the door that I went out of. And those stairs they had like a little like they weren't like flush stairs, like they weren't like just like planks of metal. They had like a little like lines on them. And I was like, all right, I'll just stick my gym rings in there. Like like if you ever had gym rings, like you have like the actual gym ring and then you have like the little rope that it comes with. I stuck that rope in there and I just worked out there with the gym rings every single day for over a month. And I still made some progress. I still made some progress. Why? I didn't make any excuses at all. No excuses were made. My life improved a lot when I stopped making excuses. We've covered the big three excuses that I used to make. Don't have enough time. We've covered that. Can't do it because of what other people will think. We've covered that. Can't do it because of external circumstances. We've covered that. External circumstances, other external circumstances. Sometimes, like, yeah, you genuinely can't. Most of the time, though, your brain is just coping. Most of the time, though, at least for me, at least, my brain used to be just coping. My life improved when I stopped making excuses, and your life will too. Guarantee it. Your excuses will hold you back from doing the things that you want to do. Why listen to them? They're just holding you back. They just held me back. If I had listened to my excuses, I would still be that video gamer playing video games for 18 hours a day. Fapping, like jacking off 4 times a day, 3 times a day. I would still be that guy, just 17 years old. But I stopped making excuses. My life improved as a result. Hope this video helped you, bro. Take care.